This hydrogen bonding is another most important type of bonding which we have in the molecular species. But remember, this is not a bonding which is present between the atoms. The force of attraction which exists between the atoms are called chemical bonds, which can be either your covalent or ionic or coordinate covalent like this. But when we move outside the molecules, the most important, the strongest intermolecular force is the hydrogen bonding. So what is hydrogen bonding is? See, whenever a hydrogen is bonded to any one of the very strong electronegative like atoms like fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen, due to the very high electronegativity of these three atoms, this hydrogen becomes highly electron deficient, because shared pair of electrons are towards these more electronegative atoms. They acquire partial negative charges. Moreover, they have lone pairs. Now, what happens is, then these electron deficient hydrogen atoms develops some sort of forces of attraction with the electronegative atoms of the other molecular species. Like if I have another HF with the same 6 or 3 lone pair electrons, and it has a partial negative charge. Its hydrogen is partial positive charge, it has an electron deficiency. What we find is this hydrogen of this molecular species start attracting the lone pair electrons of this highly electronegative fluorine atom towards itself. So this force of attraction of the hydrogen atom of a one molecular species with the more electronegative atoms of the other molecular species is called hydrogen bonding. A very untraditional type of force of attraction, but that most important is a very strong sort of intermolecular force of attraction, which changes the properties of the molecular species to a great extent. Like the molecular species in which we find having hydrogen bonding, their boiling point suddenly becomes very high. Like HF is a liquid, it becomes liquid. Like HF is a liquid, whereas HCl is a gas. Right? Like water is a liquid, whereas H2S here is a gas. Like ammonia can be a liquid, easily liquefied, whereas phosphine is a gas. So what we find is, whenever hydrogen is bonded to, remember, only these three electronegative atoms, it becomes highly electron deficient. So it starts attracting the pair of electrons which are present around the electronegative atoms of the other molecular species. So the attractive force which develops between the hydrogen atom of the one of the molecular species with the electronegative atoms of the other molecular species is called hydrogen bonding. Now, this hydrogen bonding is of two types. It is of two types. One is called intermolecular H bonding. Intermolecular means between two different molecular species. Like I can draw this water molecule which is having hydrogen bonding with another water molecule like this. So this is how we can have this type of bonding is called intermolecular hydrogen bonding. It's between the two different molecular species. The H and the electronegative atoms are of the two different molecular species. Now, the second type is called intramolecular hydrogen bonding. It's between the two groups of the same molecular species. The best example is orthonitrophenol. In case of orthonitrophenol, what we have is, we have a nitro group at ortho position. So what we find is the NO2 groups, double bonded oxygen is actually quite high electron density because of the presence of these two lone pairs. So what we find is this force of attraction develops between them. Now this force of attraction between the hydrogen and the electronegative atom oxygen, or like fluorine or nitrogen, which are the part of the same molecules, so is called intramolecular hydrogen bonding. This type of hydrogen bonding leads to the formation of what? Chelation or rings, cyclic rings. Cyclic rings are called chelation, and this leads to what? A high stability. But remember, now such type of molecular species are not able to develop affinities or bondings with the other molecular species. That is why their boiling points are very low. So when we compare the boiling point of this orthonitrophenol with para-nitrophenol, which is having nitro group at the para position opposite to nitro, now there is no hydrogen bonding in this case. So what we find is boiling point of orthonitrophenol is very, very low. That is why we call it a steam volatile compound. Easily gets separated by the steam. The reason is because it is having a very low boiling point, because it can't develop hydrogen bonding with the other molecular species. Its groups are engaged in forming the hydrogen bonding with its own groups, and that is why the chelation leads to what? Extra stability but lesser boiling point. So these are the two types of hydrogen bonding we have. The hydrogen bonding plays also a very important role in deciding the solubility of the substances. Like alcohols, though which are organic, should not be soluble in water, which is a polar molecular species, polar molecular solvent. But what we find is, since alcohol is able to form, like methanol and ethanol, lower alcohols are able to form hydrogen bonding with the water molecules. These lower alcohols are soluble in water. So hydrogen bonding to some extent is also responsible in deciding the solubility of the substances also.